So next up, we've got several different sponsor videos today, and we so appreciate our sponsors because they help make this event so successful. So please turn your eyes to the screen and we'll listen to a message from the American Farm Bureau Federation while our next panel comes up.
All Americans should care about tax reform for agriculture, and this is why. Our family farms are already being threatened by rising costs and inflation, just like your families are. And new tax burdens, they would put pressure on our farms to the point where they may have to go out of business. That would cause more consolidation in our food system. And it could even cause us to depend more on imported food, which Americans really don't want to happen. They want to know where the food comes from, and they want it to come from America. We need to continue these tax provisions that we have so it helps our farmers be able to sustain themselves there. Because at the end of the day, food security in our country really provides us national security, because we don't have to depend on any other country to grow the food that we consume and our families consume every day. We can always depend on an American farmer to be there and deliver that quality of food. Tax reform is important to our farmers because it goes straight to the economic sustainability of our farms. Farmers are price takers, not price makers. That means that we take whatever the price is that people are offering to pay for the commodities that we produce. That means we run on very thin margins. And these small business tax provisions helps us keep us economically sustainable. The average age of the farmer across America is my age, and we have to find ways to be able to pass our farms on to the next generation so that we can continue to provide that food and fiber for our people here in America. Through estate tax exemptions, we're able to let our families inherit our land without having to sell parts of it all to pay the tax burden. Farmers have America's back by providing the food, fiber, and fuel that we all depend on. But the American people can have the farmers back by supporting tax provisions that allow us to keep our farms in business.
Thank you to Farm Bureau for that. We appreciate it very much. And now we're going to turn to our first panel focusing on AI and new technologies. And here on the stage with me, I'm delighted to have Sara Schinckel, who's the Director of Emerging Technologies and Architecture for John Deere, Matt Beckwith, VP Business Development and Regulatory Affairs for Guardian Agriculture, Aubrey Bettencourt, Global Director of Government Relations with Orbia Precision Agriculture, and Paul Ray, the Senior Vice President for Agricultural Solutions, North America for BASF. So let's start out and we'll have our discussion and open it up to some Slido questions from you as we go along. We're going to start, Sara, with you. You know, a lot of the farmers in my home state of Iowa and your state as well, they've had a lot of challenges over the years. I mean, there's always the weather challenge, but they also are facing increasingly labor challenges, a lot of things in which they need new technology. So just tell us from the Deere standpoint how you go about collecting those concerns and how that weaves into the development of your new equipment.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today to talk about agriculture and how technology is serving farmers. I love starting with the challenges farmers face because as we develop technology at John Deere, we think about how does this technology serve farmers? How does it help them be more productive and more efficient as they go about their jobs? And so you mentioned a couple of great challenges that we hear from farmers. You know, weather, we all know, is a constant challenge. It's unpredictable, and farmers have to manage through that to have a successful year. Labor is another challenge that we keep hearing from customers across agriculture, construction, and even commercial landscaping. There's just not enough people to do the job and the right skills to do the jobs. And so we think technology can be a solution for farmers there as we help automate equipment and even move into autonomy for some equipment. You know, another challenge that I think we don't talk about a lot, but that's certainly there, is just the complexity of managing the business of a farm. And so the number of decisions that have to get made to pull off a successful year, and I think about data and how that can help farmers manage their business. And so as we develop technology solutions at John Deere, we really start with those challenges. And then there's a lot of technology that's cool out there, and we make a lot of technology that's cool, but we don't make it because it's cool. We make it because it helps farmers with those problems they're facing. And so solutions like our autonomous tractor for tillage, it helps meet that labor challenge during the really busy harvest season. Our See and Spray solution helps farmers manage the business of their farm and manage the inputs that they're applying and just be more productive and more sustainable about how they're applying chemicals on their farm. And then our John Deere Operations Center is a cloud solution that uses the data that the farmers have collected on their machines through the year and then presents it to them in a way that helps them manage and analyze their business so that they can make plans going into the next year. And so that's really the key for us is connecting with our farmer customers, making sure we understand their challenges, and then making sure that the solutions we're developing using technology always helps them address those challenges.
Thank you. Matt, let's turn to you. You know, I grew up more in the crop duster age. I know there's still a lot of those folks out there, but you're dealing with some really high-tech drones. And these are, if you haven't seen them before, I know we've got a clip here that we could play, but just talk to us a little bit about what Guardian Ag brings to the table in terms of new tech.
Yeah, so if maybe there's a video that'll play, but you know, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've gone from virtually having no spray drones in America to having 3 to 4 times more spray drones than crop dusters. Like the future of technology is here, and almost every single one of these spray drones is made in China. So Zippy Duval was talking about national security, and we think national security is also about building things in America, about building farm equipment that can't be shut off by a foreign adversary. And that's what Guardian's building. This is a 750-pound drone. You're seeing it in Salinas, California right now, where we're delivering our first commercial units. Turns out it's hard to make big flying things, but we can still make things in America. And I think one of the themes that I want to talk about is how do we do that? How do we, you know, if we want to make America great again, we've got to make things in America and things that matters to farmers. We are, for the first time in about 100 years, we are having an American or an American company will not be at the forefront of a new agricultural technology. And that is deeply concerning to me, as it should be everyone in this room. And so how do we bring this innovation back home? And I think that is part of the opportunity as we kind of look out to the future of American farming, is we need to, you know, like make things here.
Thank you, Matt. Aubrey, water has been a serious concern in the West, but increasingly in other states as well, as we look at some of these extreme weather conditions. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with Orbia, the more crop per drop solutions.
Yeah, so Netafim, which is now an Orbia company, is the oldest, it is the inventor of drip irrigation technology. But what we are finding is this amazing tech that made the desert bloom almost, I think we're going into our 75th year this year, is actually, it's a Swiss Army knife. It's now addressing multiple problems. So whether we're talking about drought in the West, where we see massive conservation opportunities through micro-irrigation, precision irrigation, when you partner that with now machine learning, AI, automation, and now subsurface drip, you're seeing massive conservation savings up to 50 to 70%, depending on your application and soil types. But we're also finding that it addresses other problems, right? So water, we were just talking in the back, always comes down to quantity, quality, timing, and distribution. And what we've found is even our drip is addressing those other issues. Again, talking about utilizing automation and sensor integrated technology, so we're delivering right time, right place, not just of the water, but now of our nutrients. So through fertigation, and the ability to fertilize or to apply inputs utilizing your irrigation system, we're now seeing more direct to root zone application, less runoff of nitrogen, less runoff of phosphorus. We're able to actually cut those inputs down significantly when you're going direct to root zone at the right time, at the right place. We're integrating that with animal agriculture and creating closed loop systems through our subsurface drip irrigation with effluent, where we're partnering with dairies to do their nitrogen management, where they're then growing the alfalfa and then feeding that back to the cow. We're now piloting that at North Carolina State University with hog operations as well, and exploring other applications in that space. And we're finding even additional dividends back to the farmer in the marketplace, and my hope would be in the regulatory space as we embrace these technologies and get them from pilot and cute to practice and standard, where we're seeing massive GHG reduction as a result of being able to go direct to root zone with with applications where we're seeing the quantification of the water being saved, which is now becoming currency in certain parts of the country, and how that then rolls up into the greater watershed management as well. We hope that by arming the farmer with this information and with this data and making it theirs, they now can engage in those policy and regulatory spaces, whether it's Colorado River reduction requirements or nutrient trading or carbon credits, or Walmart saying they want pollinator-friendly, grown product, and so they're able to go no-till or put in a buffer zone with a put in some habitat with a drip line. So we're realizing that same old technology, when applied with new applications, new tech, we're addressing 1 million more opportunities and challenges that way.
Thank you. Paul, you've been surrounded by innovation over the last couple of days and new tech in some of your travels, I know. But as you're looking at bringing new solutions to the market, what kinds of things are you hearing from growers about the needs that they have in order to be more productive, and how does that translate into new products that you're able to bring to market?
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thanks for having us here. It's a great pleasure. Yeah, I'm looking at some growers right here in the front row, so I feel like I might be a bit of an imposter here telling them what they need, because these growers are here right on the front edge. And as you mentioned, BASF's a proud innovator in agriculture, but we also feel we share that with growers because they're tremendous at pushing the boundaries, doing new and different and better. And I just look at the progression in agriculture over the last 20 years and just am amazed at what these growers here do every single day by really pushing that boundary even further. And when I listen to them, I hear a lot of requests around, I need more tools, not less. I want to bring a lot of this technology together. And there's some concern there. Will we have enough of that technology in our hands? Can we get a hold of it more quickly and more reliably? I think that's on their mind as well. But I think some things that come regularly to us based on our product portfolio is, where will the new herbicides be on the marketplace? When will our new traits go with them? When will we have those new modes of action that we'll really need to manage a changing environment and an expectation of growing more? And one more recently that we've really paid attention to is soybean cyst nematode, which is really a silent killer of a lot of yield in soybean crops, particularly across the Midwest. It's reportedly on over 50 million acres these days and is robbing up towards $1.5 billion worth of yield annually. And it's sort of gone on unreported. Its incidence is increasing, and over time we expect the yield impact will only grow. That's why we're excited, having a very long-term view to research. Over many decades, we'll be bringing a new trait to marketplace here called Nemasphere in the next 3-4 years that will make that available to growers to really tackle that pest, which is only growing. And that's just one example of many. I think farmers like us, though, they're impatient. They want it sooner. They've got production challenges today, and they struggle a little with why does it take that long? Why does it take 10, 12 years to bring that new chemistry to marketplace or new traits? And it's just the reality we live with today, unfortunately.
So let's drill down into that reality a little bit. So you have an idea for a new active ingredient and want to bring this product to market. The regulatory timeline of taking things through Environmental Protection Agency, 10 to 12 years. And how much cost are we talking for, on average, of a new product?
Yeah, for a new molecule to make it to market, it's been surveyed across all of the major industry players. On average, it's costing right around $300 million for one product to come to market, new AI. 300
million. Wow, it's a long time to wait for some ROI on that. Sara, let's go back to you a little bit. And again, I'll welcome anybody to enter some questions on Slido here, but talk just about AI specifically, and we might bring others in on this, and how that has changed the time to develop new products and how that's being actually implemented on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am excited to hear how others think about AI as well. We've been deploying AI solutions for several years now. So our autonomy for tillage solution uses computer vision and machine learning. So the cameras are the eyes of that machine, and then the machine learning algorithms are really the brains of that machine, seeing, what are the cameras seeing, and then what should that machine do with what it's seeing? Should it stop? Should it continue? Does it need to pause? And so that's a great example of where that technology is already out with our customers. Same thing with our See and Spray solution, with those cameras looking down at the crop and distinguishing between weeds and crops and deciding when that giant machine should be spraying. Another really great example of how just AI technology, computer vision, machine learning is already on farms today and benefiting farmers that are using that technology. Something else that I think, back to kind of decision making and managing the complexity of farms, we have tools in our John Deere Operations Center where our machines are giant robots, right? They're moving through the field and they have sensors and technology on there that's collecting a lot of data for farmers. And so everything from location to what that machine is doing, that's all getting streamed up into the John Deere Operations Center, which then presents that data to customers and to farmers so that they can manage in real time their farm. And so we have features that use machine learning to say, when do we think you're going to be done with this field, so that they can do logistics planning through the day. So just a couple examples there of where AI is already on the farm, and then we'll continue to look at how do we bring that technology to solve more problems.
I'll just open it up to others, or Paul, if you want to start. I know that you're using AI in terms of development and being able to see what works and what doesn't to make things a lot quicker than it used to be. Any thoughts on how this is helping in advance new product development?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting, and there's a lot we don't know yet. So we're very much in the phase at the moment of applying it in lots of different facets of our company and learning as quickly as we possibly can about how we deploy that at scale. And so we have a number of sort of test cases going through our organization today, and really then stepping back and saying, okay, what did we learn? How can we apply those? So I think, as I say, there's a tremendous opportunity. There's still a lot we don't know, but we definitely see an opportunity for it and look to scale it in many different ways, right across our operations, from our customers' experience they have with BASF, all the way through to how we develop new products and how our teams work and collaborate. And I think one of the biggest opportunities I see is to create a more connected organization where all parts of the organization's knowledge can be shared more widely. And the point you made is that hopefully will speed up decision making and actually, I think, lead to better decisions ultimately, because we'll have more high quality data at our fingertips to make better decisions. And that's good when it comes to, developing new products, for instance.
So Matt, you talked about having the important products that we're using in food production manufactured in the U.S. So tell us why aren't we seeing more onshoring? Why were you able to generate your business and get everything going in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, it's like very smart industrial policy by China, I would say. If you look at, one, China saw early on the need to produce things there, so they subsidized the manufacturing facilities there. So American companies said, hey, this is great. We're going to go produce chips. We're going to go produce parts and pieces in China. That gave Chinese companies the ability to master those skills. As they're mastering those skills, they are developing kind of the leading edge innovation. So some innovation's happening in the US, but increasingly it's happening there. And so we just took our eye off the ball here. It didn't seem important. And so, well, now what do we do where we're at? So there's I think two levels where we need to fix this. First of all, we need to simplify our regulations. Guardian Agriculture, it took us 27 months to get permission to fly a drone. Like that is, it is bonkers. I mean, think about, trying to make a car, right? Like you can, or a vehicle on your farm, you can just start tinkering and developing that. But because we're in the national airspace, we had to get permission. And so I think that from a policy perspective, we're talking about policy here, we need to accelerate regulatory approvals for American and allied companies. It blows my mind. It makes me just a little bit angry for 8:30 in the morning to think that Chinese companies get the same parity of access because they get their regulatory approvals or asks in with the FCC or the FAA. And so they're ahead of the queue of an American company. And so they flood the zone, and that means that American companies that are developing new technologies don't get the resources. And we look at what China did to American farmers. From 2011 to 2016, American farmers, this is Farmgate money, lost $5 billion because China delayed approvals for biotech traits. And so we couldn't access those markets. We couldn't adopt new technologies. So we're playing checkers without even getting kings, and our competitors are playing chess. And so, checkers is fun when you're 8, but we're not 8 anymore. So we need to really up our game and think about the more complex global trade system and the mercantilist policies that are being used against us, and then kind of the tai chi of like U.S. regulations hampering American companies when we could use them to accelerate. We're just letting them plod along, which isn't working. So that's a little bit of what happened, but I'll stop there.
Thank you. And on that policy front, Aubrey, you've talked about making sure we can have a glide path into practice for a lot of these new technologies. So is on the regulatory front, are agencies like USDA, NRCS, are we keeping up with the technology in terms of our ability to support with programs?
I would argue no. And I'll give you just an example of ours. I mentioned it earlier, right? So we know subsurface drip irrigation applies under practice codes for NRCS with EQIP for water conservation, but it actually meets the standards for nutrient management. But because it's not an acknowledged technology under practice code 590, a farmer in, I've got farmers in Iowa who want to put this in, they're going to have to irrigate for 3 years to prove that they are reducing their water consumption so that they can put a drip system in to manage their nutrients. So we're incentivizing bad behavior to get to the ultimate outcome. So we need to update all of these things. We, as an industry, we know this. Look, we're farmers. I farm with my family, and we like to, Netafim, we're farmers too. That's how this was born. We're solving the same problems. We're outpacing the programs in a lot of ways, and so I'm very hopeful that we can, through the same challenges that you're talking about and the same, I think, sense of urgency, do the exact same thing on the other side, which is update our incentive-based programs, update our definitions, update our applications, so that we can, again, take these things from niche to practice and really excel and inject a shot in the arm to have American agriculture be leading for the next century again and again. So that's I think just a small example, but we've got examples up and down the chain as well. And we manufacture in California. We have a manufacturing facility in California. So yes, it's hard to get things built in the U.S. It's really hard to get things built in California.
And costly.
And very costly, as you all would know too. So I mean, it's I saw a question about tariffs, and we're very thankful that we're one of the few drip manufacturers that are still in the United States. So if you want to put a system in and you're having trouble getting stuff in parts, we got you.
So Paul, one of the questions that came in was about how do we speed up the process and keep the regulatory system more closely aligned with the emerging technology. Any thoughts on that? I know that you've already been working to try to get more people at EPA, and perhaps that didn't happen either.
No, it's been a challenge, and it's been a decline over really a couple of decades of the staff available and the resources available to the EPA at the Office of Pesticide Management Programs, and that's of concern. And obviously, sometimes the first knee reaction is, well, we shouldn't have as many people there. We should be more efficient. And the answer is yes, we should be more efficient, but they need a level of expertise to review these very complex scientific packages, and we need that expertise. And we're quite happy going through a rigorous scientific review, but it also has to be timely. And unfortunately, the resources available to the EPA in that regard have been declining. And as an industry, we already came together under PREA 5, which is our legislative package to fund that part of the organisation, which is a user pay system as well. And we haven't yet been successful seeing those resources return. And that's a concern, because that's delaying the timeline it takes for a grower to have that certainty. On top of that, they're managing now a very complex Endangered Species Act interpretation as well, which is also weighing in more time. So that's of concern. So perhaps now is a good time to step back and say, is that a good practice for it to take that long? What could we do differently as an organisation, as an industry, that could maybe lighten the load for the EPA, for others perhaps to share more of that work package going forward, so that we actually bring these technologies together in a more reliable fashion to market?
Thank you. One of the other questions that came in asked about the role of land-grant universities. Now, historically, that's been a very important part of not only developing ag tech, but actually getting it out and deployed, educating people about how to use things. Matt, Aubrey, anybody wants to jump in on this? Do you see the land-grant universities keeping up with new tech and being a friend or a foe in terms of implementing new tech?
I mean, I grew up with my grandfather going to the extension agent, and Lincoln founded the USDA in 1862 as the People's Department, as the People's Agency, and I think that funded the land grants. That provided a lot of innovation that happens there, and I think where it's changed is companies have partnered with the land grants, and I've seen a lot of good things come out of it. I think it needs to adapt to the needs of today, but I think the land grants continue to be important because that's also where our kids are educated. That's where we're going to get the next generation from. And so if we're not doing it through there, companies are going to get like recent graduates who have no idea. So I think the partnership between companies and the land grants is an important piece going forward. And obviously, government funding helps that, but it doesn't solve the problem.
I would say where we're finding, yes, the short answer is yes. The sometimes I find myself going state to state, going, okay, we looked at that 25 years ago. Can we look at it again really fast because a lot's changed? Where it becomes, I think, really an asset is twofold. One, like the North Carolina example, we want to, and this goes to our regulatory question, if we're doing pilots with a land-grant university, we want to parallel that. I think a strategy would be to parallel that with the regulatory process. So if we are developing any new application that is going to have to go through any new hoop, parallel tracks as opposed to sequential cuts our timeline in half. So bringing in the states, bringing in the regulators, DEQ, those types of entities to work as some parallel tracks. And that's something that I'm really advocating for within some of the projects we've got going with universities. I think the other piece to this is it's helping us with adoption and better understanding of how to apply these techs in places that they aren't traditionally applied. Specialty crops have always been the bread and butter of precision irrigation. I'm one of those evil almond farmers in California. We love precision irrigation. We are over 75%, actually 78% of all almonds are in some form of precision irrigation. And we see it applied everywhere through the specialty crop space. But we are we're trying like mad to integrate drip technology and precision irrigation into staple commodities: alfalfa, corn, sugarcane, rice. We're growing rice with subsurface drip in Italy. And we're seeing tremendous improvements in yield, management of nutrients, management of our water supply for multiple different applications wherever you are in the world and wherever you are in the country. So where I'm hopeful too is with the land-grant universities and with Extension Service is bringing them into our processes, bringing them onto our farms where we're doing this, and then spreading the word back out of there's more ways to apply this one thing.
It's really amazing what you're able to do now compared to even at the start of your career, all these changes that you've seen, right? Sara, back to you just a little bit. Talk about autonomous tractors. We do know that there are some issues in the state of California and on the regulatory side, but in general, you guys are developing machines that are enabling a lot more productivity with less labor. Just talk to us a little bit about what do you see as the kind of the next steps with autonomy on tractors and what might be the limiting factors going ahead?
For sure. So we are at the CES show this year. We introduced our autonomy tractor for orchards, and we also showed a concept autonomy machine for construction and then also for commercial landscaping, in addition to our autonomous tractor for tillage. And so autonomy continues to be an area we're very focused on. We introduced our second generation autonomy kit, which can be added on to a tractor. That's one of the key things that we think about is, tractors serve a lot of jobs on a farm. So as we add autonomous technology to those tractors, how do we make sure a tractor can continue to do all the jobs that it does and not just the autonomy job? And so we're continuing to evolve that technology, make sure it's working for farmers in the situations where they need it. There's also a lot of challenges with autonomy, right? Like you talked about it. You can literally get stuck in the mud, right? So you can be out in a field and just get stuck. And so how does the technology detect that? How does the machine and the equipment respond to those situations? It's a dusty environment. It's bumpy. It's hot. It's cold. So a lot of technology isn't developed to withstand those kind of tough conditions that our farmers are operating in every single day. And so that's one of the challenges we have as we bring autonomy to farmers and to our solutions is how is the technology getting developed to withstand these conditions? And then how is the technology evolving to manage all of the kind of unique situations that the systems are going to encounter, whether it's dust, whether it is getting stuck in the mud, snow, who knows, right? I could list a bunch of things that are just kind of unique that is to farming and autonomy. So those are challenges we're tackling every day as we continue to evolve these solutions and bring them to our customers.
Thanks. And talking about new tech, also biologicals has been quite the buzz. Paul, talk to us a little bit about where BASF is on development of biologicals and what you see as a future. Are we going to replace all synthetics? Or are we just going to be partway there? What's that look like?
You're right, there's been lots of interest and lots of growth as well, I'd have to say, both in terms of customer interest, but also what the products are able to do compared to even just 10 years ago. And I think that segment's benefiting from a lot of research and development from scientists who really are now discovering these technologies. And we're doing exactly that. So we have quite a strong portfolio today of biological products that play very well in a number of different segments. They're growing quickly. And that's not just a unique to BASF story either. That's happening across the world, really. And I think, as I say, that investment in research will actually drive their performance into the future. And I think it's still a relatively new space in that regard. You know, synthetic chemistry's had 50, 60 years of a lot of investment, and biologicals are going to benefit from that as well. In terms of the last question, you know, I think they'll be held to the same standard, like they have to work, right? Farmers expect a return on their investment. It's not just a nice to do, they have to work. And I think when we see that performance increase, we see customer adoption grow as well, which is natural for any product, but no, it's an exciting segment.
Thank you. Aubrey, there's a question that came in specifically for you about using tile lines that are usually for drainage. Are they also going to be able to be used for sub-irrigation?
I do know we've done subsurface in tiled fields, so we can do that. I'm not, to my knowledge, we aren't looking at tile lines. We don't run tile lines through at Netafim, but we are looking at how we can expand drip applications in those types of farming practices and how we can be more compatible in those spaces together.
Super. So as we look ahead, we've seen such tremendous advances in technology, even in my lifetime. But what are you all most excited about going forward? Where do you see some of these other opportunities exist in terms of trying to advance either your products or maybe in combination with other products? Paul, maybe I'll start with you on that. What's out there for you that really piques your interest?
I think there's a lot coming, but it would be nice if it came sooner. That's probably the frustration we have there. We spend about $1 billion a year on research. That's about 10% of our revenue. So we really do believe in the future of agriculture. And we're over that horizon, 10, 15 years out. And I'm excited by the combination of the technology we have coming, whether it be traits, seeds, crop protection tools, and really, connecting that with digital offers as well, where farmers can actually have a sort of a seamless experience in the farm shop all the way through to the cab, where they can truly bring that technology together and get the most out of it. I think that's that combination of all that technology working together in a particular crop, in a particular field. That to me is what really excites me, because at the moment there's still gaps in that technology, how it works together and how farmers make it work with ease. I think that's the opportunity that excites me.
Thank you. And Aubrey, I'll turn to you. I mean, we've been hearing from Secretary Rollins that, we all want to make agriculture great again as part of the new MAGA movement. And, what does excite you in this space in terms of Netafim's future?
Well, I'm excited in a couple different spaces. One is actually partnering on the plant health side and learning how we can utilize our delivery mechanisms that are also now fully automated and massively with our GrowSphere technology, the ability to integrate all of our data systems through this. How do we use the water not just to get more crop per drop, but also use it as a vehicle to do more? whether that's with plant on fertilizing, but also like we have a product in Europe that's approved that uses organic substances built into the drip that is a deterrent to certain pests in tomatoes. And so I'm excited about those kinds of, what if, get in the, mad scientist box and see what we can do with it. I'm also, I think it's just, maybe it's the Westerner in me, but I am very, very, very adamant about making sure that when our farmers are voluntarily making these investments, and they are investments and they are risks, but we are making these investments in our operations, that we get the credit for the good work that we're doing, both in the regulatory space and in the market space. Because we now have the data component where before I think we were afraid of the data. We thought it was something that was going to be used against us. We need to take ownership of that data and use it to our advantage, like I said, in the marketplace. Again, if an entity wants it grown a certain way and I can prove that I'm doing that, either one, I'd love to see them start partnering in with corporate dollars going into cost share to offset government programs or to help leverage government programs. But also two, give me credit in the marketplace for that. But secondly, same thing on the regulatory side. If I'm engaged in a voluntary practice that is showing a benefit to a species or a benefit to a watershed, I need the ability to get credit for that, for being a contributor, because farmers are a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So I want to flip the script on that. And I'm very excited about kind of where technology allows us to do that. We culturally have to own that data. We have to say it's ours to leverage and not someone's to use against us.
Matt, just quickly as we wrap up.
Yeah, so I'll answer quickly on two levels. First, kind of at a sector level, I worked in a bunch of ag tech companies, and I think there's two types of problems that you can solve. There's a problem that a farmer will tell you about, and there's a problem you'll tell a farmer about. And far too long, we've been focused on telling farmers about problems that were discovered in Silicon Valley, and that just doesn't work. And that's why I'm excited about Guardian and bringing a solution to the farm that we're making in America. And that allows us to have a dialogue and get the insights direct from the farmer. So we're solving the problem here in Iowa or Nebraska and not importing the solution from somewhere else. So I am excited because there's finally traction and excitement around that.
Sara, last word.
Yep, real quick. I love all the points everyone has made, right? So I think if you look at agriculture, it has always evolved and always changed. It used to be about stronger and faster and bigger machines. Now it's about precision and technology, right? And so I think all of us up here are talking about how does technology serve customers, serve farmers? How is it going to transform agriculture again? And so there's no shortages of interesting things for all of us to keep working on because agriculture is going to keep evolving. I think to the point you were making too, Aubrey, data is going to become a really important, it already is really important, it's going to continue to become more important. How do we help farmers document the work that they're doing on their farms? How are they using this technology? What are the practices they're doing? How is technology helping them be more productive, more efficient, more sustainable? And then how do we give farmers the tools so that they can take that back into their business and make decisions that way and make that business decision with the market for their business themselves? So technology, tons of opportunities ahead of us. And I think to your point, Matt, too, as long as we ground that in what do farmers need, there's going to be lots of fun things coming.
Super. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our panel this morning. Thank you very much. So please remain seated. We're going to make a change up here, and we're also going to hear from our sponsor, the International Dairy Foods Association, and then Agri-Pulse editor Phil Brasher will come up to lead our next panel.
Limits. They try to define us, control us, contain us. But that was never our way. For generations, U.S. dairy has redefined the limits of human nutrition, rebuilt the principles of food safety, and reset the boundaries of innovation to connect families and societies around the world with food that brings joy, nourishment, and opportunity. From the halls of Washington to the ports of Shanghai, the International Dairy Foods Association is working every day to unleash the limitless potential of America's dairy farmers, processors, retailers, and suppliers. Where some see limits as a barrier, we see limits as a challenge. challenge to build a future where data and technology unite farmers and processors and consumers. A challenge to inspire new leaders to put people at the center of everything we do. A challenge to end chronic disease and hunger with wholesome, nutritious food. A challenge to unleash the limitless potential of U.S. dairy. Challenge accepted. Join us today. Visit idfa.org to learn more.